Greetings, demons, and welcome to a type of video that I basically said that I was not going to be making anymore, and that is a video about the current state of Fortnite. And realistically, this is less about Fortnite itself, though obviously I will be talking about changes in that game, and it's more about what I kind of fear the future of gaming in general is going to look like. But with that being said, V-Bucks have got more expensive. Let's talk about it.
Not the leader of a cult, RabbitWithAxe.
So, jumping straight into it, we recently had a new news post, a blog post, whatever, on Fortnite's website, going over some changes to V-Bucks. And the reason that they've given for these upcoming changes that I'm going to go through is that the price of, the bills for running the game, for running Fortnite, and presumably running Epic as a whole, have increased. And realistically, this is a thing across all industries, gaming included. It makes sense. Prices are going up, especially US-based companies. There's a lot of things going on in the real world that are affecting these things. So it's not surprising that Epic and presumably many other companies within the gaming space are currently struggling financially. And what Epic have decided that they're going to do about that is not increase the price of V-Bucks technically, but decrease the amount of V-Bucks you get for the price you pay. So, for example, and I'll go through the bottom and top amounts here just because it makes the most sense. Before, if you paid $8.99 for V-Bucks, you would get 1,000 V-Bucks. Pretty standard, that's pretty much how it's been forever. The smallest amount that you could get was 1,000, unless you got it from, say, a starter pack or something like that, where you could get anywhere between 200 and 500 as like a minimum at a time. And with that, there's no bonuses, there's no extras. That was your lot. That was everything you got. Now that is going to be changed to 800 V-Bucks. So still the same $8.99 price, but 800 V-Bucks instead. 200 V-Bucks less than before. And that is realistically not much. It's not a huge decrease, but it is still, 20% of the value there, and we'll get into it, but it is almost halving the overall value of V-Bucks, or doubling the price of V-Bucks. It's, the way of describing this is really stupid, especially because we're talking about a virtual fake currency that doesn't have inherent value. But when it comes to the largest amount of V-Bucks that you could previously purchase, the $89.99 pack of 13,500 V-Bucks, that is going to be decreased down to 12,500, which is a pretty big decrease. That's 1,000 V-Bucks that you're just losing out on now. And it is really shocking. They actually break it down in the article, which I will, of course, link in the description below. The exact amount for V-Bucks is around 50 cent, US cent, for 50 V-Bucks originally. That is what we have had for a very long time. That has been the standard for the most expensive version of V-Bucks. The new price for V-Bucks is 99 cent for 50 V-Bucks. As I say, nearly doubling the price for V-Bucks, for 50 V-Bucks. And this is honestly really shocking to see. And obviously this isn't the first time we've seen a increase in price for V-Bucks. We have actually seen direct price increases previously. I believe the original amount for 1,000 V-Bucks was $6.99. I could be slightly wrong there. Remember, I'm in the UK, I work with British pounds usually, but either way, it did increase kind of substantially in terms of the real-world money you had to spend. And this time, instead of doing that, which I feel is kind of sensible in a way, they're instead decreasing the amount of V-Bucks you get. And that alone is annoying in itself, but we'll get into it in just a moment. There are some even worse changes coming when it comes to the Battle Pass as well as Fortnite Crew. And obviously, for pretty much as long as, Fortnite Battle Royale has existed and the Battle Pass has existed, if you paid your 1,000 V-Bucks or later had Fortnite Crew, you would get your Battle Pass rewards, which included 1,500 V-Bucks. You would get 500 extra bonus V-Bucks back. Now that is going to be changing. You are no longer going to get any bonus V-Bucks at all. There are not going to be any. And this coincides with a decrease in price for the Battle Pass from 1,000 V-Bucks to 800 V-Bucks. So still the lowest amount of V-Bucks that you can purchase will be able to buy the Battle Pass. So, in a way, once again, they are kind of fixing this, and this also goes, the OG Pass is going to be 800 instead of 1,000, Music Pass and Lego Pass are both going to be 1,200 instead of 1,400, so everything is getting a 200 V-Buck decrease in price, but with that, the actual value you're getting on your V-Bucks is lessened, and the Battle Pass, which previously gave you a profit if you completed the Battle Pass, is now only going to recoup the original amount. So if you complete the Battle Pass, which nowadays the V-Bucks are much harder to get anyway, you're only going to get the 800 that you put in if you just straight up bought the Battle Pass. Now, personally, I have sworn off buying anything in Fortnite. I've made videos about this already. I think this is a perfect point to basically say no one should be buying the Battle Pass anymore, and we'll get into it a bit more with Crew. But at this point, none of the passes are actually worth the value that they are. They have had items removed from them. We've had a steady increase in, quote-unquote worthless items like emoticons and sprays, and even things like music tracks, Fortnite original music tracks, which, whilst some are good, most of them are not really worth anything to the average player, especially if you're not playing Festival. And the fact that now even the V-Buck rewards are just disappearing is really, really disappointing and really annoying for people like myself that up until now have played and bought and completed, every or almost every, in my case, Battle Pass, OG Pass, Music Pass, Lego Pass, everything. It's really a spit in the face, and it's really actually annoying. And nowhere is that more obvious than with Fortnite Crew. So once again, Fortnite Crew's actual price isn't going to increase. However, the 1,000 V-Bucks that you got every single month is also getting decreased to 800. So once again, you are losing value of the Crew, and I have been a staunch defender for a very long time of the value of Fortnite Crew. It was something that I, religiously backed up and said that it was the best way to, experience Fortnite cosmetics. You got 1,000 V-Bucks, you got access to all 4 of the various passes, as well as access to the Rocket Pass and stuff like that. It was great. It was great. And now we're seeing a loss from that, without any real reason other than, Epic is struggling for money, apparently, when, they're buying new collaborations every 3 days. It's kind of ridiculous, and we'll get a little bit into that in a moment. But yeah, everything is getting lessened in terms of both the price of it, in terms of V-Bucks, not in terms of real world money, bear in mind, only in terms of V-Bucks, whilst also giving you less. So Crew gets you 200 less V-Bucks. The Battle Pass gets you technically 700 less V-Bucks for completing it. And the only slight benefit is that now everything is 200 V-Bucks cheaper. And that's only the V-Buck price items. Everything that is real world money is the exact same price as it was before. And in general, this is a very bad situation, and I'm sure this is also going to reflect on the packs, the various V-Bucks packs, whether that be the ones that have quests, whether that is the starter packs that I mentioned before. I wouldn't be surprised if all of those see a reduction in the V-Bucks you actually get. A lot of those get you 1,500 or even 2,000 V-Bucks. It wouldn't surprise me if that goes down to 1,300 and 1,800 respectively. And when it comes to starter packs, we already have some that are only 300. Is that going to decrease to 100? Are we going to see some packs, like the Lego starter packs, not have any V-Bucks anymore? Because I believe they only had 200. There are some really worrying aspects to these changes, especially for anything that's going to be returning in the future, because at the end of the day, these V-Bucks have been a pretty steady currency. It's weird to say about, a virtual currency, but it's been pretty consistent. I say we had one major price increase, and that's really it throughout the last, 8 years of Fortnite? Is that how long it's been going at this point? 9 years? I don't even know at this point. And yeah, this is a major change and a major shift that I think is going to be reflected with the wider video game, sphere, I suppose. And it is really disappointing to see. I've already seen a lot of people cancelling their crew subscriptions. My partner actually cancelled hers after she actually continued for a few months more than I did. And, I've already made it clear I'm not paying for Fortnite crew. I'm not playing Fortnite really at all anymore, and with that, I'm not paying for anything from Epic. And I have my own reasons behind that, but the fact that they have made these pretty money-hungry decisions right at the tail end of one of their weakest seasons as well is really, really disappointing. And, in general, I'm very... I don't even want to say annoyed, I'm just disappointed, I suppose, in what Epic is doing here. Especially because, as I say, the reason they've given is that, the bills are increasing, the price, the cost of running Fortnite has gone up, and all I can say, and this is something that I've heard from people like iTalk out there, it's their fault. They are the ones hiring big-name talent to voice act for their various story elements. They are the ones that are literally putting a new collaboration in every few days. We're getting multiple collaborations every single week, and they're not cheap. Like, they are not going to be cheap contracts. As well as the fact that we have things like all the Disney stuff, and I know there's technically a pro rata, whatever you want to call it, agreement between Epic and Disney, but with that, they're still going to be paying for that. They're still going to be paying a lot for it. And on top of that, you've got the fact that there's so many developers, there's so many designers, and, as much as it does appear some of them may be using things like generative AI instead of actually doing the actual hard work of it, these are still people's jobs that, could be on the line if things go poorly, which they appear to be. The fact that this is the first time we've ever seen a decrease in the value of V-Bucks to this extent is really worrying. When a digital currency is losing value at technically a higher rate than we see with real-world currencies, it is a really bad sign of the times. And a lot of this could be blamed on the current state of America, the current state of the world in terms of politics, and I'm not going to get into that too much. If you really want to hear my thoughts on that sort of stuff, I have a separate channel for that kind of thing. But, as things are, this is a very worrying turn of events for Fortnite, for Epic, and for gaming as a whole, and I really do hope that we do not see this reflected in other games. We already know that Blizzard, for example, and, as a wider thing, Activision, Microsoft, etc., are going to be working a bit closer with Epic in the future, and I really hope that this doesn't reflect on Microsoft's practices. Right now, the only gaming-based subscription I currently have, and this is why I technically do have Crew still, is I have Ultimate for PC. Xbox Ultimate, should I say. And that is purely because it gives me good value for money. But if we're going to see an increase, or rather a loss in what we get from it, which, is already kind of happening because Fortnite Crew is part of that subscription, it's a really bad sign for the future of gaming. And it will affect a lot of people. A lot of people in I can't think of the words right now, but in low-income scenarios, and, just generally people that can't necessarily afford to pay a lot for, virtual novelties, essentially. Like, there are some people, myself included to some extent, that can afford to throw, $10, $20 at a game for some, cosmetics in that game. That is something that some people are able to do. Unfortunately, a lot of people play these games and, experience this stuff for fun because they have a minimum wage job that, breaks their back, and they just want to relax, and maybe they want to buy a new outfit, a new costume, a new collab item for their, favorite TV show that now has a skin. And the fact that these prices are technically increasing in such a sneaky way as well, because obviously the price itself isn't changing, it's just what you get out of it. And at least as of recording this, they haven't included anything in-game suggesting that these changes are happening. I'm sure they will do before it actually happens on March 19th, which is only a few days away. We are in a very scary situation for what could happen to just average people who don't follow, YouTubers and other social media platforms, TikTokers, whatever else, who are talking about this. And as I say, plenty of people have already cancelled their Fortnite crews. I would expect generally people are going to be spending less on Fortnite because of this change. But is it going to make enough of a difference for Epic to really feel it? Probably not. And that's really unfortunate, especially because, as I say, we are in a bit of an economic crisis in real life. Things like this are not essentials, but people rely on them for just basic enjoyment, for just basic happiness during their week. And yeah, seeing changes like this really is upsetting in that regard. But with that being said, that's really all I wanted to go over with it. So yeah, there are a lot of weird, ifs and maybes around this situation. I'd be really interested in hearing what you guys have to say about it, so please comment your thoughts and feelings below in the comments section. And otherwise, that's going to be it for me. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like it, subscribe if you're new here, and ring that bell so you never miss upload. Otherwise, comment below your thoughts and feelings, as I said. And I'll see you next time. Bye!
Look at the screen, you'll be fine. Culture's a disease, but we'll survive. I just wanna take